It's happening, Don. Back with another episode. Good to see you, bro.
Yeah, good to see you, Jazz. Lots to talk about.
Yeah, finally, we wake up to some non repetitive news.
Yeah, for sure. This is new. It's not, I think, what we would have expected a week or two ago. Um, and it's a very interesting turn of events.
Yeah, I mean, we both were saying how we would rather see Khabib and Tony like postponed than see him fight either McGregor or Gaethje right now. And to be honest with you, now that it's happening, I'm excited, obviously. But hopefully, regardless of what happens in this fight, Tony and Khabib will fight. But it's hard to see Khabib fighting Tony if, for whatever reason, he loses against Gaethje.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you don't expect him to lose, but Gaethje, I think, on his day can win this fight. And you also have to wonder about like the psychology and the motivation of these two guys going into a fight like this. Tony was going to
Yeah,
He was going to finally get a shot at Habib after 5 attempts or 4 attempts before this. He was going to have this opportunity to be the undisputed champ, maybe be in the argument for best lightweight of all time. Um,
mm,
and instead of that, he goes from a fight where he's got so much to gain to a fight where he's got so much to lose. And Justin Gaethje is kind of in a win-win, where if he beats Tony, he's either getting Conor or he's getting Habib next. He's done a huge thing for his name. He's got a payday he wasn't expecting. Um, so, and if he loses, well, he took a short notice fight against Tony Ferguson. Nobody expected him to win anyway. So it's sort of
100%.
win-win for Justin, and who knows how Tony's mind's going to be going into it.
For sure. I mean, I think Tony's mindset and mental game is always strong and laser focused. But I mean, Gaethje's no slouch. I was looking at his record earlier. He's 21-2, and his only two defeats in the UFC have been Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier, two former like world-class champions. So, and he has his last three wins have all come by knockout against James Vick, Edson Barboza, and Donald Cerrone. So, even though Tony's probably going to come in the betting favorite, Gaethje's definitely, I mean, his fighting style, he's going to bring the heat, he's going to throw down, and yeah, I'm excited. Also, from a technical standpoint, he's got great wrestling.
Yeah, I know it's a very exciting fight to me, and a part of me feels guilty about being excited for it. The fact that I'm going to tune in like everyone else, because I think Dana's gone a little bit crazy. And I think, I said last episode, if it's not Habib, Tony, just call the whole thing off. But like you say, now that it's on, the fan in you is excited
Excited.
to see the fight.
I mean, I know we both watched the interview with Dana White that came out today with Brett Okamoto. I mean, I got to respect Dana. As he says, like he's got an amazing house in Vegas. He's spending time with his kids. I mean, he could easily be chilling at home, relaxing, but he's out there, I feel like hustling, pulling all the strings that he can to make this fight happen or just to put some fights on. He doesn't want to, he's taking all the precautions, but it's just his passion for the sport and to give the fans some fights and not just to kind of like stop the production is, I mean, I think it's quite admirable. And he said in the interview, the only other guy that's doing that currently is Vince McMahon. And he was saying, like everyone's scared to be first, NFL scared to be first, NBA scared to be first, but he's keen just to kind of push ahead and just try and keep things rolling to some extent. And he wants the schedule to be back on track within, from April 18th.
Yeah, I mean, he's hustling hard, and I do sort of respect that. That's his sort of intuition or his inclination is to take that approach. But on the other hand, I think there's a lot of unanswered questions about pushing ahead in terms of, do people in the UFC have the option of saying no, and not just the fighters, but the refs, the cut men, people who've now got to work in this kind of very close environment.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have that option that other sort of non-essential workers should have at this time? How's travel going to happen? Because we don't know where the fight's happening yet, but wherever it's happening, people have got to get there. People have got to move their teams there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, then he's got the private island. He mentioned to Brett Okamoto that he's got a private island where they'll be putting on international fights for the next however long. And the same question arises. You know, people have got to get there. People have got to move back and forth. And I think in America, the daily death rate's over 1,000 people a day now, and it's probably going to grow for a while because a lot of the cities it hasn't really hit yet. So it is this sort of moral dilemma when I think about, and Brett asked him, what about hospitalization? You know, how are people going to, what if fighters get hurt and they got to go to the hospital? Is that a risk for them? Is that a problem for the hospitals that are trying to minimize those situations? And Dana's response was like, Brett, we've thought about that. Like, we've got that covered, which is,
Yeah.
He didn't really say how they had it covered, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of unanswered questions, but I do think like one thing he said is that, you know, healthcare is not only now an important part in the UFC, but always has been. And I have a faith in Dana that, you know, they've got top class medical staff. I feel like if someone, you know, he said in another interview, he said to his staff, if you guys want to leave, go ahead, leave. Everyone's on full pay. If you want to stay, stay, and we do this. And you know, I don't know. I don't see him as being like a guy like, oh no, you guys have no choice. You know, if you don't stay, you're out. I think he's going to do everything, you know, that's in the best interest of everyone who's going to be there, who's going to be traveling. I thought something else that was interesting. He said when the fighters and everyone getting on the plane, they are not even going to know where they're going. How crazy is that? These fighters are going to fight, have no clue where they're going.
It's totally crazy. It's absolutely
wild.
It's going to be really, really interesting to see how it plays out. How
and
all
also
come to
what other curveballs could Corona throw at them, at the world? You know, as he was saying, every day he was dealing with new obstacles. Could something come out in the next few days that completely throws off his island plans, his US plans? I mean, it's crazy, but hopefully not, because it would be nice to see some fights and see things kind of moving ahead just in general, and not seeing everything just grind to a halt.
Yeah, for sure it would be, but I mean, whether it's the right thing or premature, well, you know, time's going to tell.
Time will tell.
Like
And then
I was booked to go see a comedy show on the 30th of June in London. Got an email today saying the show's off. That's the 30th of June.
June, yeah,
rescheduled for 2021.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely think large gatherings are going to be a thing of the past for a while. But I mean, not getting too sidetracked, do think of, you know, the world needs to start ticking relatively soon before it kind of just, you know, just self-implodes. I mean, that's what Dana was saying. He's like, there was some guidance that, you know, like this was going to go on, or at least this type of thing might go on until September. And he's like, there's just no way people are going to stay in their homes until September. You know, it's just not possible. People can't do it. You know, he said he could do it for the next 5 years for obvious reasons. But I mean, I think that we need to get moving, adhere to all the social distancing and no big groups. But anyway, it's quite a sidetrack topic. But anyway, moving on. And the other fight that we've spoken about in the past that's on that card is the co-main event is Jessica Andrade and Rose Namajunas, which is very exciting.
Yeah, sure. If they're going to do fights, it's got to be, I'm glad that it's not just like this headliner for headliner's sake and then a rubbish card throughout the rest. That's a seriously good fight, man. I'm very, very excited to see, especially what Rose looks like after quite a long time off, after taking that really rough knockout in the last fight, which was the previous fight with Andrade. Like we've said before, she looked so crisp before things went awry for her in that fight.
Definitely.
You know, and Andrade is coming off that quick knockout loss herself to Weili, and so she's also going to be hungry to bounce back. So it's high stakes for both women and tough opponents for both of them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you said, before she got slammed on her head, she was looking great and was definitely winning the fight. And I think this rematch is going to go a similar way. I doubt she's going to make any sort of similar errors. My money on this one would definitely be Rose Namajunas, probably by some sort of either KO or TKO.
Yeah, well, I mean, even Rose, you know, Rose has a good jiu-jitsu game. She, you know, the last few fights, the fights with Joanna, she didn't really have to use it, but got a lot of rear naked choke submissions on her record. And she likes to say that her plan is always, you know, punch the woman in her face, take her back, and choke her out. So
yeah,
you know, I think that's probably still her strategy going forward if she needs it.
For sure. And another fight that jumped out at me is the Rosenstrike and Ngannou fight. That could be a headliner on a normal, on any normal card. If I look at, I think Rosenstrike's record, he's 10-0 in MMA and 4-0 in the UFC. And he is, in his last fight was Alistair Overeem when he split his lip in that horrible gash that he had. So man, and they're both massive, massive hitters. So this I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, me too. And I think, it's like maybe the two biggest punches in MMA in the division. So, and I think Ngannou's in a position now where he had the hiccup against Stipe, and then the weird fight against Derek Lewis, where Derek Lewis had a back injury and Ngannou was like mentally shaken still from the Stipe fight, and nobody did anything. But since then, he's been on a tear again, and I think he's unlucky that he's not already in line for a title shot with a sort of standoff between Daniel Cormier and Stipe. But I think if he gets through Rosenstrike, and as you say, he'd be getting through an undefeated fighter, a 10-0 fighter with nine knockout wins. If he gets through this challenge, he's got to be able to the next fight as a title shot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and a win for Rosenstrike would also be huge. I think in the UFC, kind of in the general realm, he's not the most well-known fighter yet. With a knockout win over Ngannou, that's, we've seen a lot of other fighters' career like propel them just with one big win like that. And I think this is, Rosenstrike finds himself in that position if he can pull it off.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think what else. I think I saw Uriah Hall versus Jacare, which obviously phenomenal fight. Always great to see Jacare in the octagon. And let's see. Yeah, it's a stacked card.
Yeah, it's a good card. Alexander Hernandez is on that card. He's a guy who was also on a tear.
He fought Cowboy, right? He lost to
Cowboy and lost, and he'd been on a real tear up until then. And at the time, that was a really big win for Cowboy. But he's fought once since the Cowboy fight with a decision win over Francisco Trinaldo. So he's sort of back on track, and he's still a very exciting sort of young fighter.
Very much, yeah. 11-2. I mean, that's still a great record.
Yeah.
He's fighting a guy who's he fighting? Morales. He's undefeated, 9-9-0. So that should be a burner as well.
Yeah. And then Greg Hardy's on the card, always a controversial figure.
Yes.
Outside, he's becoming a controversial figure in the cage as well as outside the cage.
Outside, for sure.
Taking illegal hits of his asthma pump.
His asthma pump, yeah, I remember that. And he had some issues, as you say, outside the cage too. He was previously an NFL player.
Yeah, he was an NFL player, and then I think he sort of I think he was convicted. I don't want to say he was convicted if he wasn't, but I think he was convicted of assaulting his partner. So very controversial guy. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. It's a really good card. Obviously not as good as it would have been if Habib was on it. And I saw somebody tweeting sort of asking the question what the buys are going to be like, because ordinarily this is a card that would probably be doing very well. But in the situation, you've got, on the one hand, people have very little sport to watch, so that might bring people towards buying it. On the other hand, people are losing jobs left, right, and center. And there's money to spend. And I think the pay-per-view costs $70.
It's not cheap. And back in the day, what we used to do when I was actually living in the US, and we'd buy the pay-per-view, a bunch of us would get together and throw $5 in, but that's not happening. So basically, and that's a big segment of the buys, like guys getting together, 3-4 guys more, and also going to bars. So suddenly, sitting at home by myself, a lot of people to spend $70 at, in current times, it's going to be a tough one. So it will be interesting, as you say, to see how the buys are, what they price it at. But I think it is going to be about $69.
Yeah, and you have to wonder, with all Dana's talk of it's not about the money, it's not about the money. he doesn't seem to be too keen on kicking back the pay-per-view pricing.
The pay-per-view,
Which I
for
know
sure.
is not just in his hands, but
Yeah,
you know, there's a
sure.
lot of rich people giving things up at the moment, which is good. And ultimately, it's about the UFC and it's about ESPN, which is Disney, being
Yes,
willing to give up a little bit of cash.
for sure. But lucky for us here in South Africa, SuperSport have a deal with, I'm not sure how it works with either ESPN or UFC. It shows it for free. So no worries for that for us here. Don, let's just see quickly. So let's run through it. So Ferguson, Gaethje, who do you have and how?
I've got Ferguson. I wouldn't
Okay.
be surprised if it's a Ferguson fight. Like it's like maybe a TKO. It's a decision or it's a TKO where it's just like he's handing out too much damage.
Right.
But like I say, I think Gaethje can win. I think he'll have a lot of like motivation, a sort of nothing to lose attitude.
For
But
sure.
I'll put my money on Ferguson.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I would also go with Ferguson, but we've seen Ferguson rocked in the past. Gaethje's a massive hitter. So, yeah, I can see this being an absolute war. Then for Andre Namajunas.
Yeah, I'll go Namajunas. I think,
Yeah.
like you, I think she's a better fighter. And I think if she looks the same as she did when they fought, which was maybe 2 years ago now, or just under,
Right.
it's her fight for the taking. But yeah, very interested to see how she looks.
Agreed. And then Nagano and Rosenstrike.
I don't know. Whoever lands.
Whoever lands, 100%.
Fucking robots. Ngannou, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay. And then Hall and Jacare.
I can't remember what Uriah Hall's last fight was like, but I think he's an excellent fighter, so I'll just go with him.
Uriah Hall. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go on the opposite side and go Jacare by some sort of submission, probably second or third round.
Cool. Oh, picking the round.
All right, Don. Well, it's been a good chat. Yeah, picking the rounds, bro. Next time I'm going to be picking the time in the round. I'm going to get the Conor McGregor cocky.
Pick these things.
Yeah. All right, Don. Well, let's keep an eye. Obviously, the news is rolling a bit more excitement, more moving parts. We have a card. We don't have a location that we know of. And then, yeah, let's see how this all plays out. Let's keep in touch. And I look forward to the next chat.
Yeah, sweet, Chaz. Looking forward.
Awesome, Don.
Cheers, man.
Ciao.